Well, all right. Here we are. This is the Working Title Show with Zach Sams, and we are back after a little bit of a break. What do you say, Zach?
A hiatus, yes,
yeah,
sir.
Yeah, hiatus. That's right. That's the name of the song, isn't it? Is this the hiatus?
The hiatus song.
One of my favorite punk rock bands. So glad we have them on.
It's good.
Well, man, it's been a while. We're back. This is the Working Title Show with Zach Sams, and we are here, and we're talking about all the good news in DFW and what's happening in the real estate world of North Texas. And man, there's just a lot of exciting things going on, and so that's what we're about. That's what we're going to talk about. And we have a great guest on with us today who's going to tell us about a new development that's going on in Celina. But before we get to that, I want to hear a little bit more about her. And her name is Stephanie Funk. She is a realtor and the team lead of the Funk team. Stephanie, thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, we are thrilled to have you here. So, Stephanie, before the break, we were talking about how you got to be a realtor, but you weren't a realtor all the time. So, tell us about Officer Stephanie Webb. I understand you were a police officer before you got into the real estate business. Is that true?
Yes, it is true. I actually was recruited right out of college. And
recruited by the police?
Yes.
Did they do that?
Not with handcuffs.
Oh.
No, yeah, they did.
Try these on.
They actually, there was a really nice, handsome, muscular guy that was standing, and it was
recruited.
Okay,
recruited
day.
Quotes. Here we go. Quotes on the recruited. Okay.
But no, I just I walked up to the booth and we talked, and he told me everybody always thinks they want to go undercover and go into a high school or something cool, and so he had mentioned that you could make detective in 2 years, and that the Garland Police Department needed athletic women. And
he sounds like my military recruiter. Same thing.
Yeah. I didn't go undercover in 2 years or detective, but it sounded cool at the time. So.
All right. Did you ever go undercover?
I did a few sting operations.
Ooh,
I did.
Cool.
I did.
All right. Forget the other thing we're talking about. Tell us tell us one of your sting operations.
Well, we had some apartments in Garland that had a lot of break-ins, and we had an unlocked vehicle with a wallet that might have had a couple of dollar bills hanging out.
This sounds a lot like entrapment to me. Are you sure?
No, And so some of us were trained on bikes, and when you have a vehicle and the car is running and the lights are on, you can't really be so covert. And so I had, I was on a bicycle, and I
was it an undercover bike?
It was not undercover. It actually had police lights.
I thought maybe it had like red streamers. Yeah.
No. But that was one of them, and that was funny, actually. I actually forgot I was on a bike and got into a bike chase with a car, and that was fun, too.
Oh.
And we did get them. Fortunately, I have a radio.
You got the perpetrator?
Yeah, we did.
Nice.
We did.
All right. Well, did the robbery stop in the apartment complex after that?
No, it didn't.
No. They brought in the second string. They're like, all right, you're in.
It didn't stop, but we got one bad guy, and it's one day at a time.
Hey, one bad guy off the street is a good day, right?
Absolutely.
Well, that is cool. So how do you transition from being a cop into real estate?
Well, not really. It wasn't really. I didn't think it was in the cards, but I did some other businesses. One of them was in the title industry.
Oh, really?
Oh,
yes. Man, I didn't even know that. We'll have to talk offline about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I started a title company, and it started my love with real estate, just sitting down and closing transactions and meeting all the partners, from the lenders to the realtors. And actually, my broker Justin Phillips was one of my clients at the title industry. And
really?
I loved his heart and his ethics, and he became my realtor and started selling my homes. And over the years, I gave him a lot of clients, and he kept saying to me, "You need to go get your license." And so I finally did it. And so here I am today.
And are you loving it?
Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
I wish I would have done it 20 years ago.
What do you love about real estate?
For me, I think now that as an adult and having several careers, I'm in a position where I can actually bless people. And so it's not about taking somebody and walking through a house and talking them into buying a house. It's truly listening to what they want and helping them purchase the biggest purchase of their life, and going to the closing table and watching their faces and knowing their excitement, and it's really what it's all about.
They need more guidance when buying a home than they think they do, don't they?
Absolutely, and besides buying even building,
sure.
that's
a whole nother animal, isn't it?
It is. It is. I before I was here, I was doing a walkthrough with a client, and we're about 40 days out, and little things here and there. This is their very first build, and they're from California. And I wasn't there for one piece of planning. And it sounds silly, but it's a big lot. And
what's a big lot? Because
a big lot. Well, a big lot. This is actually a lot in block, so it's less than an acre, but it's a large corner lot. And
for Californians, it's probably huge.
It's huge because he had a condo that was actually the same size as the apartment.
Right, they shared
right now.
like 10 by 10 square feet of grass with 5 other people in California.
It is for the same price.
Right.
But no, he needs a riding lawnmower, and when you're doing the planning process. One thing that I always do with my clients is I'll say, hey, if you need, you might want to just put a door on the other side of your garage so you don't have to take your lawn equipment all the way around. Something simple, less than $1,000 most of the time. I
have another tip for the lawnmower. So tell him, don't get a zero turn, because if you want to drink a beer while you're riding your lawnmower, the zero turn's two-handed.
No.
It doesn't work.
But if you have a cup holder,
I have one.
golden.
I have a cup holder on my zero turn. It spills everywhere.
Okay.
It flattens the beer in 2 seconds. It's horrible.
No, but it's silly things like that. It's something that's so minor, but because you're experienced and you've built with other people and you know the likes and dislikes, it's what makes you valuable.
Yeah.
And that's what I enjoy doing as well.
Well, that is really cool. So are they happy with the way the house is going then?
Very happy. There's definitely hiccups, and it's always nice to have someone in your corner.
Sure.
I have people that will say, I don't want a real estate agent. I'm just going to go straight with the builder.
Right. So you're representing this group.
I am.
Not the builder. So their interests are your interests, or you're behind them and their interests. Right.
Absolutely. And I will say to them when they say, oh, you know what, I don't really need a real estate agent. I will ask them, if you were going through a divorce, would you hire the same attorney that your spouse hired? You always need representation.
Right.
Always.
Absolutely. That's a good analogy, right? So I know we weren't going to talk about Officer Webb, but that was a really cool story, and it's neat how you kind of transitioned into real estate, and now you're really helping people just like you would as a police officer. So I guess you have a servant's heart, right?
Definitely.
Well, when we get back, we want to talk about this new development that you came on the show to talk about, and hear more about that and more about the building process and what is so great about this area.
All right.
Sounds good. We'll be back in a few minutes. This is the Working Title Show with Zach Sams. Back. This is the Working Title Show with Zach Sams, and was that like Hair 2? What song was that?
That's Hard Rock Demon, actually.
Ooh, Hard Rock Demon.
Yeah, settle down in there.
I think they're in town. I think they're playing in South Garland this weekend, actually. Yeah. Well, Stephanie, you stayed through the break, so thanks for being back on us with the second segment here, and we're going to talk about a new development that you're really excited about. We were talking yesterday, getting prepared for the show, and you were telling me about this neighborhood. I could really tell like how excited you were about it. And it's in Celina, right? Which I hear about Celina all the time, mostly because I'm from Argyle, and they're playing Celina this Friday, and that is like this is a rivalry, the Argyle-Celina game. So excited to hear about that. But tell us about Celina. Why is Celina why is it blowing up out there, and what's driving people to that area, and why is that a place that somebody might want to move to in Celina?
What's funny, I feel like Celina is very similar to where Prosper and Frisco were 15 years ago.
Right.
And it's Prosper's running out of land. We're not going to have subdivisions with acreage in Prosper. And for that reason, people that want to have some space and some room and acreage, and still want that small town feel of what turned them on so much to Prosper.
Right.
They're locating up north. Roads are making it easier to travel a little further north. We've had Preston's expanded, and Custer's going through some major expansion as well, so that you'll have a straight shot from where you're living with 10 to 15 minutes to the closest mall.
Sure. So for those who don't know, Salina is it due north of Prosper?
It is.
Okay.
It is. It borders. In fact, there's some of Celina that's Prosper ISD schools.
Okay, so a little crossover there. And then Preston Road and Custer Road, are those like the east-west boundaries?
If you want to look at dimensions, there's 1461, which is Frontier Parkway. And so if you just did a box, you would say 289 Preston to 1461 Custer, and then it goes all the way up north to Gunter.
Okay. All right. I know Gunter. I've played golf up there before. So Salina, like, what are if you're looking at, moving to the area, and Salina is something maybe you're thinking about or you're just hearing about it, what are the home price ranges there? Are they sky high like Prosper? Are they more affordable, or is it kind of a mixture of all?
So I'm just going to completely go off the cuff here because I did not do data research, but
well,
I would
don't
say,
have to.
But I would say that you're looking at medians probably 450. There's Light Farms and Mustang Lakes are two rather large subdivisions that are in Celina, but Prosper ISD, and you can still build a home in there for $350, but they go up to $1.3 million.
Oh wow! So you got quite a range in that area. Okay, so Carter Landing, this is a development that you came on the show to talk about and that you're excited about, and it's in Celina. So, I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of construction going on in Celina, right? And in that whole area. So why are you excited about Carter Landing specifically versus some of the other places that, people could build or buy a home at?
Well, I'm excited about Carter Landing, and I will say that it's because of Homes by J. Anthony. He's a builder that I have had the pleasure of working with and selling some of his homes. And I saw his product in Lucas several years ago. And one of the things that I told him over and over again, I think, bring this to Prosper and Celina, and I will sell. And he did. He actually, they started looking at some land, and he picked out a tract.
It wasn't necessarily the piece of dirt it's on in Celina. It was more about the builder bringing something unique to Celina.
Absolutely. And it was, the challenge with most builders is land. And so if you can, and obviously price, you have to make it worthwhile.
Sure.
You can always buy dirt, but you can't, the cost to actually bring it in and develop it, and then break it up and keep it under a certain price.
Yeah, the price of the dirt's going to determine the price of the home, basically,
and
right?
Utilities, and so that does make it's a factor. But he had the experience of doing this with several other subdivisions, so it wasn't too difficult for him to. He knew the formula he needed, and I shared with him the price market we needed to stay with to attract our homeowners.
Right. So why would somebody like? Or why do they like a J. Anthony or a home by J. Anthony? What is he doing to these homes, or what is his niche that separates him from the others in your perspective?
Well, he has the talent of designing homes, and he's over 20 years experience with several different building companies. But the reason that people choose him is because he has the ability to listen, design. He also is building basements. That's super exciting.
Find a basement in Texas, I dare you. There aren't
805
many.
Bristol Park. I sold the house, but it is exciting. Hot on Homes ran a few specials on Homes by J. Anthony. And I happened to be at the home doing an open house as a real estate agent. There were people traveling from out of state to come see this basement.
No kidding.
It was unbelievable. I had just numerous parties walk through and excited. But what I heard was, they didn't want to be maybe in Lucas. If we could do something a little bit further north, because they were looking at schools and this is where they wanted to be.
Right.
And so that's actually, I think,
that was
any
the moment
builder,
you were like,
it
this
was.
is it. Right.
And all builders want to have a niche. Everyone
Are you from
does.
like Ohio or something? Is that why you have this affinity for basements?
No, I don't. It's just something different.
Yeah, it is. It's unique.
It's just something different. If you think about it, you have an ultimate man cave. So in this basement, you throw in a card room or your workout room, or you have your media room, your tornado, your safe room. And so it's just it's a nice, it's an ultimate place. He actually has a separate entrance so that if you want to come in the back entrance, you can.
So if you had a house by J. Anthony with a basement in it, would it be a man cave or would it be your woman cave?
I am still a woman. I was a police officer, but no.
So you wouldn't just give it away to your husband, right? I mean, you would have.
I would probably put it. I'd probably make it my office.
Yeah.
Maybe I would do my own podcast at home and just totally do this.
They're gonna put us out of business. Dang it! All right. Okay, so the basement. So it. There aren't basements in Texas because those don't really work here, right? With our soil movement and all that. So how does he accomplish that? Without being too technical.
Yeah, I know that he did some reverse engineering, and he actually worked with Earth Forms Foundations to come up with a formula that will accommodate our moving soil.
And you told me he had this process patented, right?
He does.
So if you want a basement in Texas, there's really only one person to call, it sounds like.
Really, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's pretty impressive. He actually has, and I'll send you a video of. He did an entire recording from beginning pouring to the finished product, and it was pretty impressive.
Wow, well that is cool. I'm gonna have to come out and see one of these basements when y'all get the model done.
Yes,
there will be one in the model, right?
There will be one.
And have we broken ground on the model?
No,
no. Okay.
We're looking at December for breaking ground.
Well, you're gonna have to come back on when we got the model ready, so we can broadcast this out. So, okay, well. I want to hear a little bit more about Carter Landing, and we need to know how to get a hold of you because somebody, our millions of listeners are listening right now, and they all want to see one of these basements. So we're going to have to get your contact information. So when we get back, more with Stephanie Funk and Carter Landing. This is the Zach. And we are back. This is the Working Title Show with Zach Sams in our third segment, and she has stuck around for one more segment. Thank you for staying, Stephanie. Stephanie Funk, realtor and team lead of the Funk team. So, Stephanie, we were talking about Carter Landing and Homes by J. Anthony, and I just, before we move on, I kind of want to hear a little bit more about, what's the look of this neighborhood. You'd mentioned farm style, so will you expand on what does farm style mean? And just like, what would people see, when they see this neighborhood? I know it's not done yet, but, when we get to that point.
Well, they're going to see unique because he's completely custom. But
so every home's not going to look the same?
They will not.
Oh,
there will
no,
not
that's
be.
That's not how you do neighborhoods anymore.
No, I can tell you the model and the idea, what's kind of inspired him is because Celina is still the country, and you're going to see stars, and there's not, the busy lights aren't quite there yet, and so he's had a few renderings that he's drawn, farmhouse style with a metal roof, really pretty accents with nice peaks in the roof line, one stories. A lot of people want one stories, and to have a one story and have a sizable one story, you do need land. The pad is so it's a difficult and common. You'll see two stories because it's a very small lot and block. Right. And so having a minimum
and less concrete, it's cheaper to build up, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But for him, it's same price whether you build up or down, which is nice. Down meaning basement, which is something we were talking about.
We are building down. Yeah.
So that's what you're going to see. You're going to see a lot of one stories. I tell you, and I say, I know that there's plenty of real estate agents that have done this a lot longer than I have, and they would probably say they have seen more and more mothers and families moving in with
we have blended
their children.
Families now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, I'm doing it with my mother-in-law.
My mother-in-law lives at my house.
So he is designing a lot of homes where we have not a mother-in-law suite. They're getting a wing, or they're getting a separate house because we're taking care of our parents.
I hope my mother-in-law doesn't hear this show, because then she's going to expect us to build on to her wing.
Yeah. Yes.
Interesting. So yeah, so there's more versatility with one story
Yes.
home, and with these blended families and things with the baby boomer generation. I mean, we have a large block of people that are reaching that age where they might either be living at home or something like that. So that creates, I guess, more versatility in the home.
It does. And one thing I have not said, and it just, when you said something, it just completely reminded me, prep kitchens.
Prep kitchens. I don't even know what that is.
I know, and I didn't talk about it to you at all, but I just thought about it.
Is that in the garage or something?
No, this is, and if Tony listens to this, he know I have begged for prep kitchens in Celina. We actually have a spec home that we built in Christie Farms, which is in Prosper, and we put a prep kitchen. It's right off the main kitchen, and so if you just can kind of visualize having your pantry, and then across from the pantry it's a second kitchen. So you put all of the mess in the prep kitchen, so you can have your dishwasher, your sink, double oven, crock pot, blenders. And so when you have all your guests and you're entertaining, the main kitchen is nice and beautiful and clean while you have all the
foods out there.
Yes.
Wow.
And so he actually has, in this particular house that we are now under contract with, but he actually had like an island over there. So it was nice. And I could just see kids, making their lunches and going to the pantry and having that little island in the prep kitchen. And it's separate from the main kitchen, but it's exciting.
I'd be like the barn at my house. It's like got all the junk in it, and our garage looks clean.
Yeah. That's just the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's bringing it to Salina. So we're going to have several homes in the neighborhood will have prep kitchens.
That is amazing. You heard it here first on the Working Title Show with Zach Sam's Prep Kitchens. They are real and they are here. So, well, that's exciting. So, people can go to the webpage and they can find your website, and on your website they can get to Carter's Landing. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right.
That is correct.
And we'll link to that on the Facebook page. But before we go, I want to kind of go back into Salina, the small town feel, and you're telling me a story about the police chief there with badge number 1. Will you tell the listeners about that?
That was actually that was a great night for National Night Out. Once a year, neighborhoods usually step outside and they kind of get to know each other.
Sure.
And it's a national event. And in October, Salina and numerous subdivisions in Salina decided to collect items for a women and children shelter in Plano. And the reason I was attached to this is I've served on the board for 8+ years at Hope Store. Oh, wow. And so the CEO called me and said, hey, the police chief wanted to know if we would receive some of these items for the shelter. And it was touching because that's a small town.
Yeah.
It's hard to organize. There was 10 subdivisions plus that all came together and got toiletries and other items. Well, when I arrived, here's this police chief, and I actually laughed about it because his badge number was 1, and just to give you, mine was 480. So usually it's in the increments
there's a couple other digits in there, sure.
And also when you play a sports, they don't usually let you be a number 1. It's just it's like the rule of thumb because
not anymore.
In kids, right?
Yeah.
So when I saw his badge,
you're
I was
all
like,
number 1.
You're number 1. But no, it was a great experience. It definitely gave me that just the validation that this is still small.
Yeah.
And I jumped in his squad car and he took me, to the town square where they were making hot dogs and hamburgers, and they had bounce houses for the kids, and it was just it was what I wanted when I moved from Frisco to Prosper.
Right.
And I felt it again when I stepped into Salina and met the police chief and the mayor and the town manager. It was pretty awesome.
That's cool. I think people are looking for that. So that's exciting. So it's Carter Landing in Salina. Check out Salina and check out Stephanie Funk, Realtor. So Stephanie, somebody wants to get a hold of you. How do they do that? Where do we find you?
They can call me. My phone number, I'm sure you'll put it on the website.
Yeah, but go ahead and give it.
It is 214-325-4684. And I do have a wonderful team with me that I love my team. They're wonderful. If I'm not available, I have 5 other buyers reps that can help you, take you around. If you go to my website and you want to fill out any information, I can get you. We do have 3 floor plans that are planned for specs.
Oh, nice.
It's something that can you can look at and see
Give you
what
an
you're
idea.
going to have. Yes.
Awesome.
I will say that we already have one sold, and just to give you some prices of what you can see in the Carter Landing, that one sold for $1.3 million.
And there's only 21 lots, so I
That's
mean
correct.
you're down to 20. Better
That's
go. And the
correct.
model, so
That's correct.
Yeah.
But you know what? The model we have
You're gonna
priced,
sell it.
the model is 800s, and that's with a basement. So you can
Oh.
have an acre lot with a farmhouse, metal roof, for under $900,000.
That's hard to find these days. So what's your website then?
It is funkrealtor.com.
Funkrealtor.com. You're not related to Fred Funk, are you?
I am not. I keep trying to get him to adopt me
Yeah.
because everybody asks that question, but no, we're not related.
I picked him up from the airport in LA one time when I was living in California trying to do the golf thing, and he had a whole crew of people that followed him around called the Funk Bunch.
Nope.
And yeah. Are you part of the Funk Bunch?
I'm not.
No?
I'm trying to
Okay.
find some for me, though. Let me know if you know anyone.
It sounds like you have 5 Funk Bunches on your team. Yeah, well, that's cool. So yes, we will link to your page and your contact information on the Working Title Facebook page. So check us out there. Stephanie, thank you for coming on.
You're welcome.
It was
Thanks
great.
for having me.
And please come back so we can hear more about Carter Landing as it starts making its moves to get some homes in there and see how it's going.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This is the Working Title Show with Zach Sams, and we'll see you next time. All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for subscribing to the podcast and listening today. I want to give a special thanks to Kensington-Vanguard National Title of Texas. The show is sponsored by them. And Kensington-Vanguard is a national title company with local people working here in Dallas-Fort Worth, specializing in commercial title insurance and residential title insurance. Kensington-Vanguard will handle your escrow needs as well as your title insurance and your closing services. So you can go to the website at www.kv-lonestar.com to find our locations and our contact information. And we appreciate you using Kensington-Vanguard National Title of Texas. We look forward to seeing you next week, where we will be talking about solar energy in the residential and commercial spaces. And we are really excited to hear about that. Something I wanted to know about, so I'm really excited to hear more about how that works. So we'll catch you next time on Working Title with Zach Sams. Thank you.
You're listening to RMCN, the digital destination for premium talk radio.